Hello everyone, it's me, Daily Darthnox, here to make a tier list video about the patch right before the Japanese come out and what the state of the meta is at the very moment. If you don't know me, you can probably see some of my videos on this YouTube channel about my 60 APM Gaia series to 1600 Elo, and now like learning Norse, some who never played Norse, I never played them before, and I'm around 1900 elo, 1850 to 1920 elo Gaia player on the ladder. And now I'm gonna give you my opinions about the current state of the meta and what tier each god is. Without further ado, let's start. And we'll leave my dear Atlanteans for the last. And we'll start here. So the first god that we talk about is Ra. So at this very moment, Ras seems to be performing worse than Isis and Set for some reason, which um, I don't know what would be the reason for that, but he's performing worse. He's around either high B tier or high A tier because he's still Egyptian, and Egyptians are really strong in every single part of the game. They're really strong in late game. They have a really strong classical fight. Like they're just good all around. They have like good god powers as well. So I guess I'll put Set on the bottom of A tier. I mean, now he's the only one in A tier. While Set and Isis are performing much better, and Set is unanimously one of the strongest gods at the moment. The Anubis is really strong god power, not god power, but minor god. Anubites are really good raiding units. The snakes are really good god power, and Set's units are also really fast. So he has really fast spearmen, which are really good raiders. Even though they don't have cavalry until heroic age, you have a 5.3 speed infantry spearmen, which are a slight counter cavalry unit. Plus, they're really good against everything else. They're kind of a generalist unit for the Egyptians. And Isis is let's put her. She's at the top of the A tier. She's not quite as good as gods in the S tier, but she is still very strong. Her bonus for denying god powers is really good, and she's really good at this very moment. And it goes the same thing for like Egyptians. Egyptians are just always really good. Even though you could look at the win rates, and the Egyptians are always kind of below, but all the top players and everything knows that it's really hard to deal with Egyptians, and when they're piloted well, you feel so helpless against them. And then we get to the Greek gods, and here we are with Poseidon. I personally think Poseidon is really good. Uh, and with Poseidon, you have the best cavalry from the Greeks, and you can tack into you first go Hermes for faster and more tankier Hippeus and Centaur. Then you go with Bronze uh, in the heroic age, so you'll get Thracian horses, so your cavalry has lifesteal. And then when you get to mythic age, you get your Bolt of Erebus with Hephaestus, and you also get all the upgrades immediately, all the iron, and you also have your Heteroi from the fortress, and they are now making like 7 seconds, so you can mass them pretty quickly even if you only have like one or two uh, fortresses, and they have AoE. They also benefit uh, uh, from the upgrades that you get prior from from the from the minor gods like Thracian horses and everything. So they are really insane, and you can get there relatively easily and safely most of the time because you're the one putting pressure on your opponent. So you have your basically the game free to do whatever you want. And Hades is kind of in the similar position. Hades can go two town centers almost every single time, and he can defend both of them with the sentinels and getting the tower upgrade in for his main town center and the sentinels for the second. And with the vaults of Erebus that you get in Archaic Age already at like minute 220 or something, you can basically sit on just one town center until like minute 15 at least, or like, like 15 minutes, just when you're starting 3000 gold, because you can stretch it out because you have 2 extra gold per second, like from the third minute. So and then he also has really strong archers, and his buildings have a longer range. He's really strong. I'd personally put him in the A tier as well. And then we have Zeus. Zeus is also really good. He has restoration, same as Hades. Spamming restorations is really strong. It's the strongest heroic classical age god power. He doesn't have a bronze, or does he? Like I'm blanking out. I think Hades doesn't have a bronze, while Zeus has bronze, and he's also really good. The problem with him is I don't really know what's the problem with why he's performing. Like somehow it feels easier to deal with than Hades. Probably because the bolt only kills 1 unit, and it's 50 favor to recast. So if you're not using it on, if you're like recasting it, it's not worth the favor it costs, right? And if it like and if you like force it in classical age or somewhere, like you're not losing that much for it, right? You're only maybe losing 1 classical age myth unit, or you're losing something along those lines. So I think even though he has fast hoplites that kill buildings pretty well, uh, it doesn't perform that well because he can't defend as easily as Hades, and his cavalry is slower, so he can't stack like cavalry bonuses. But he has a really interesting choice because everyone else mostly goes Hephaestus, while Zeus has Hera, and you get your Lightning Storm with it. Lightning Storm is a really good god power. It deals, I think, it hits 45 times, and each hit deals 100 divine damage. So at the max, it deals 4.5 thousand damage, and it's in a really big area, so it's impossible to dodge if you don't like garrison inside of a building. So Lightning Storm is really good. It wins your fight. So if you're going for like a timing push with the Hera, it's really good. But I feel like Zeus is weaker than the other Greek gods. Someone might disagree and change these two guys, but I think like Zeus is B tier. Now for Odin, he is really strong. The 10% bonus that he gets for hunting is noticeable, and on top of that, it's Norse, so you don't waste your villager gather time for building buildings. You use all your Hersir and Berserk to do that, your infantry. So, and you put on top of that the 10% bonus for gathering food that from hunt that Odin has. Odin has a really insane economy on 1 town center that can match 2 town center players for a long while. And on top of that, your cavalry is healing, and raiding cavalry is really fast. When you get like, you go Freya, you get Thundering Hooves, they have 6.6 speed. Your Valks can also heal your raiding cavalry. After you finish like a raid, you go back, you heal, then you raid again. So even the 1 town center, you can match 2 town center players for a long time in economy, and on top of that you have raids. So because of that, I think that he's either like a low S tier or high A tier. But let's just put him at high A tier because we don't have that many characters to put, gods to put, and we don't want to overcrowd S tier. And we have Loki. He is the weakest of the Norse at this moment. I think it's because he doesn't have Freya, and Freya is really, really strong. And unlike Odin, who has the best vision because of the two ravens, you can scout the whole map with them at the beginning of the game. He has the 10% extra counter damage from his god bonus. He has cheaper ox cards and everything, but it's not that noticeable, unlike some other god bonuses that the other Norse have. And so he's kind of underwhelming. He's like this standard Norse, just not better than anything else. He's like he's a B tier, the worst of the Norse gods. Then we have Freyr, which is easily the best Norse god. He's definitely S tier. He has the best Archaic Age willpower, the Golem Bursty, the boar, which can basically stop one push by itself. He also has the best Heroic Age god power, which is the Tempest. If you use Tempest really well, it's basically minus 2,000 resources on your opponent's end, even if he like immediately starts running away from it. And if you like pair it up, like you're losing, like let's say that someone's attacking your town center, then you pair it up with the Golem Bursty, and it's almost an army wipe, like in less than 10 seconds. These two god powers combined, and that's like a minus 4,000 resources immediately, and then you just go on the counter offensive and you win. So it's just a combination of the insane god powers that Freyr has, along with his god bonus, which is that all the techs are 50% cheaper for Freyr. So Freyr has not just economical technologies. Every single technology, from the armory, from the ox cart for the economy upgrades, every single thing, also from the temple and everything else, is 50% cheaper. So he's spending 50% less on everything, and the only thing is that it researches 1.5 times slower. So instead of taking 20 seconds, it will take 50 seconds for it to apply, but you're saving 50% of the cost, which is a lot. And it's, with Freyr, you basically just need to have one more building to research compared to other guys. And then you're like getting them almost at the same time as the other player would be, but you're paying 50% less. So let's say you make 2 armories, and you make like more production buildings to get the other upgrades, but you already have those. Like having more production is good always, so it kind of doesn't really change that much. You don't need to invest that much to have the quicker, to combat the slower build time, but benefit from researching everything basically immediately. So he's like just insane economically and everything because he gets all the upgrades for almost nothing. And that's about it. Now we have Thor, which is middle of the pack for the Norse players, for the Norse gods. As always, no, he gets 3 dwarves from the armory whenever he researches something, and you get like around 4 of them during Archaic Age. You get 3, and then I think 1 you get like shortly after you get the Classical Age. And so basically, you're 4 villagers ahead at 5 minutes compared to everything else, and you make a lot of dwarves, and your dwarves aren't that much worse they are actually better than the other Norse dwarves because they gather food and wood a lot better. The normal dwarves, they are slightly worse than the gatherers. So even if you like overmake dwarves and have them on other resources, you're not suffering as much as you would otherwise. So you are avoiding that penalty. And Thor has the god power that he makes a gold mine, and if you, depending on when you use it, you usually use it in heroic age where it's 3,000 gold, and you gather from it faster than you do from a normal gold mine. So if you're gathering from it, I think in heroic age, I think it's 50% faster. I might be mistaken, but still, if you get like a shaft mine in heroic age, you put your dwarves on it, and you have the extra bonus from the god power. You can like eat 3,000 gold in an instant. So he has that good advantage that he has while always being ahead on economy, on like having more dwarves and having an armory upgrades. Like you already get all the armory upgrades in Archaic Age. You can get them age earlier, like every single one, and that means that your army, like if you have one berserk fighting one berserk, you win it because your berserk has more damage and has more armor because you got the upgrade earlier, and he didn't, right? So he is, I'd say, above Hades in the A tier, below Poseidon. And then we come to the Chinese. Nothing much to say for the Chinese. They are really, really strong. They have really overpowered heroes, especially Fushi. They have really strong myth units, and they have really strong units overall, like the halberdiers with Chio, which they slow down cavalry by 50%. So if they tag a cavalry, it's not going to run away. It's going to die for sure. It's basically like every single counter uh, a counter cab unit, like every halberdier, has a slow which is equal to the Caladria before the nerf. So think of it what you will. It's really, really strong, and Fushi and Shenong have it. The Yachts got nerfed, but they still think that they're really strong. Even though it's slower, so it's easier to catch with Valkyries or with some other heroes and myth units. But it's really strong still. And there is much more to China, like Tiger Cavalry, the insane heroes that Wuxi and Shenong have, like the John Wick, Zhang Jian, and I don't remember this guy's hero name, but they have AoE damage on their normal attacks, and they're just insane when it comes to dealing damage. Like they can clean up armies insane. It's really hard to focus them if you don't have really, really strong archers. For example, if you don't have like shafts of plague, uh, uh, like the arrows of the sun or whatever it's called, or some other bonuses to your archers. If you just have like naked Arcus, for example, with zero upgrades to them, they have long range, but they don't deal any damage. So they'll be shooting this guy for like 30 seconds before they kill him, like 20 of them. So I think that no one would be surprised to know that Fushi is S tier. He has the strongest heroes in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if they get nerfed next patch, which they should be. They should get less AoE, and they might need to become. I think Nesha doesn't take any population, but someone should check that. Nesha should definitely take up population space if he doesn't already. Also, it's hard to place them. Are they S tier? Are they A tier? Where do they fall? It's almost impossible to stop their two town centers as well. So they are really strong if you make a couple of Kwafu at the beginning of the game. They are almost always ahead in the economy. They have a really strong late game. Tiger Cav is really strong. It's probably the best unit in the game because it's a counter archer, counter cavalry. And after he dies, it becomes an infantry unit, which is basically a catapultus with slightly less HP. So it kills other cav also as well and takes some damage. So it's like a double unit basically. And with Nuwa and Fushi, you can spam those a lot, like those upgrades. You can stack a lot of upgrades for cavalry, and then you have like just the most insane tire cav of all time in the late game. And with China, you can get to the mythic age almost always. I'm not sure really where to put them all because they're all really strong. But I think that this is probably right. Fushi, Nestir, and then below them they are Shenong and Nuva. And now for the Atlanteans. The best of the Atlanteans for sure is Kronos. He demolishes all Norse pretty easily. He also can get a second town center the quickest because you have your two Prometheans just distracting your opponent in their base, getting their idle villagers idle while they need to have their heroes in their base to defend. And in the meantime, you get your town center by teleporting a house, a manor there, and using a valor and heroizing like a villager, and then just getting it like in seconds. And then he's like really boomy because you get your second town center so fast, and you're like getting some idle time. And if you manage to like get idle time, or maybe like sacrifice your two Prometheans to kill like one or two villagers, like you are in a really good spot. It's hard to place him anywhere other than bottom of the A tier. He's really strong. He has some bad matchups against, for example, Poseidon. I think is his worst matchup for me personally. I could never deal with Poseidon. He ages up early, gets his tier heroes out before you can do anything. So your Prometheans are, it's better to just have them in your base than to send them to your opponent because Atlanta will chase them down. While the other Greeks age up later, so, and your Prometheans can kind of outrun the age 1 hero, but they can't outrun age 2 heroes. And because Hades and Zeus age up later, you're not scared to drop down and have them have some idle time, the villagers, while Atalanta is immediately out, and it basically thwarts your whole early aggro, so you can't do anything. And it basically doesn't allow you to get your own second town center. You need to stay back in your base. But otherwise, other than that, he is really strong against all Norse. He's decent to everything else. And that's about it for Kronos. He's just a really good overall pick. Then Oranos. Oranos is really strong. One thing that Oranos has compared to other Atlanteans is he has potentially two combat god powers in the classical age. So you have Carnivora and you have Shockwave, and using those two in combination can be really deadly. It can basically win you any fight. And if you save your oracles and make like one more extra oracle, it basically allows you to have two fights pretty early where you're using like Shockwave Carnivora, and then you have enough favor for another Shockwave Carnivora. You can also make a lot of heroes with him, and his infantry is also really quick. His infantry is, when you get the upgrade from the temple, it's 10% faster, so your Murmillo are not 4.5 speed, they're actually 5 speed. So they are the second fastest infantry. They match the spearmen from the Egyptians, and they're only slower than the spearmen from Set. I think that the Herser with the upgrade from I don't remember the god, but with the god with the trolls are faster. They're like 5.3 speed, I think. But other than that, like they are really fast and really strong with Bite of the Shark and everything. So they can be like pretty good raiding until they are really good raiders. Because Atlanteans don't have cavalry until Heroic Age, so he's really good for raiding. He's also unraidable if you are good with your sky passages. Just drop your sky passages onto your like second gold mine or your second hunt, and then the moment someone attacks you, just drop in your sky passage and you're back in your main base with like gathering goats or whatever in your main base, right? So you almost lose zero walk time to save your villagers, zero idle time, and everything. Like it's really, really insane. He's unraidable. He has the best fights out of any Atlanteans because of the god power spamming. And then later you can get, if you have made a lot of like Hero or Milo, and then you go through the, then you go through Hyperion, so you get the Heroic Renewal tech, where all your heroes get 10% more HP, and they get 1.5 healing per second, which is basically a medium upgrade for all the hero units that you have. So it's really, really good. If you made already a lot of heroes for like raiding for 5.3 hero more Milo to raid, and then you get like heroic, you get the upgrade, and they basically get, and then you get like a heavy, gets a heroic renewal, and they're insanely strong. Like you get a really big power spike from it, and you get chaos, which if you made like one or two more oracles, you can maybe cast it the second time, or you can make a satyrs. And like if you have a couple of, like if you have 3 satyr or 4 satyr, and you get their upgrade, and you use chaos to bunch up the enemy units, the enemy army, and then you position like your satyr so that they can basically send their ability straight through like the whole army. They basically deal like 80% of the enemy army HP in like 1 second, and then you can win any fight after that. So he's really strong, which I think he has a big potential if he's played really well, but he still kind of suffers against something. So it's hard to place him anywhere really. He's worse than Kronos. Like you want to fight, but a lot of people can stop you from fighting. You can be a lot of places, but it's hard to do. I don't really know where to put him. Is he better than Zeus? Is he better than Loki? Is he the same as them? It's really hard to say. Let's put him at top of the B tier. And then we have Gaia, my favorite god. Spreading trees and plants everywhere, being ecologically friendly, saving the planet. However, Gaia has some problems. Mainly being that Plato is bad, so you always go Oceanus. Healing with Oceanus is really good. You have your own Lush. You also have your Eladria to heal. You get Bite of the Shark, which is really good for fighting. But the problem with Gaia is that, unlike Uranus, your Murmilos are slow. You don't have a second fighting god power. You don't have the Shockwave. You only have Carnivora. You're not as good at trading because your Murmilos are 4.5 speed and not 5 speed. Also, if you want to heroize them to make them faster, you don't get heroic renewal because you don't have Hyperion. So you're basically playing, you're not going for that later. So heroizing a lot of units is not going to pay off at all because the hero units are not worth the gold, not worth the resource that you spend on them if they're not attacking MIF units. And kind of having the heroic renewal negates that fact. It makes it better, but you don't have that as a Gaia, so you don't want to make a lot of heroes. So having from Oceanus, having the heroic frontline tech, which makes your hero infantry cheaper. So it's kind of not a thing like for heroic for the heroic frontlines tech to pay off. You need to heroize 9 Morbillo, I think. And like you're almost never going to make 9. It's not going to pay off if you don't have Hyperion for the heroic renewal. It's kind of a like it doesn't go into your favor to make more heroes. The really good thing about her is that your economic upgrades are cheaper and you can get the mage earlier. So what that means is, and of course your main base is safe from a lot of aiding stuff because you have Lush, which heals you, and you have Caladria, which also you get it in your base like immediately, and then you just like have them sit there and heal your units. And you start with 2 hero citizens, and during the build order you usually make 1 more, so you can defend from like MIF unit raids at the beginning of the game. And if you get you can get in classic in Archaic Age, you can get the hunting equipment, survival equipment, actually, not hunting, survival equipment, so that they are even more tankier. So they won't die if you get that. Like it's really hard to kill a Gaia a citizen in its base, and if you get like the channels upgrade, they stuff on your defense moves faster, but I feel like channels is not that big of a deal. It doesn't really help you that much. It doesn't save your units at all. It's not that big of a deal. So you kind of have that. Like the only good thing about Gaia is that you have a decent economy. Like you have you can get the upgrades earlier. You can't kind of in some cases you can't get your second town center off, like against the Greeks. They just send 2 heroes and the free MIF unit to your second town center, and you can't make your second town center at all. So it's really in some cases like you feel like you're forced to go 1 town center. A lot of players don't play 1 town center. They will like to play Gaia on 2 town centers and stuff like that. It's more economical. I had success with 1 town center because people don't expect it, I think. And people underestimate how strong 4 Caladrias can be on town center. They're just healing your units, whatever. If you micro well, that is. So I think like Gaia is not that bad, but she's worse than it. Because Atlanteans suffer from the fact that your MIF units are weaker than everyone else's MIF units. Like a Promethean is weaker than a Minotaur, it's weaker than a Cyclops, it's weaker than a Centaur, it's weaker than a Valkyr. Your god powers are less impact than the opponent's god powers, but they are more recastable. But if you don't have a lot of oracles, you won't have enough to get like all your technologies, to get a couple more MIF units, and cast god powers on top of that. So you need to cast like your god powers at least twice for it to actually equalize the value of the opponent's free god power usage, at least, because like if you're not like the first restoration is so big that casting Carnivora twice is not gonna do the same damage, the same value as casting restoration once, and it costs you extra 25 in favor, or 20 favor, I think. So for that fact, Gaia is not that bad, but she's the worst god, I think, in this very moment. So I'd put her at the bottom of B tier. So as if we look at this, we can see that the Atlanteans are the worst pantheon. I think everyone agrees on that. But they're not that bad compared to everything else, but they are worse. And I think like overall sentiment is Egyptians, Norse, Egyptians and China are like the best. Then it's like Norse, but they're like slightly worse than like only slightly worse than the Egyptians and the Chinese. And then we have like the Greeks in the fourth place, like solid fourth place, below the Norse. And then we have like Atlanteans in the last place, definitely in the last place. So we don't, what I'm expecting for the next patch is Japanese are gonna come out. Let's see if they come out as broken as Chinese did when they came out, or if they're gonna come out on the more conservative side. And of course, I'm expecting some Chinese nerf, definitely Freyr nerfs, and maybe some Norse nerfs like Anubis nerfs for the snakes or something else. Like I don't really know what will nerf there, but Anubis definitely needs some nerfs. For water, it's like cancer and water. And then Atlanteans need some buffs. Like what I would really want to see for Atlanteans is I would want destroyers to be 2 population. I would like horns of consecration to be quicker in research. Like it's 40 seconds research time, whereas Soul of Deimos is 20 seconds and is researchable for military barracks. Well, this needs to be researched in the palace, and it takes 40 seconds. And it only makes you research fanatics, while research Hypaspis an age earlier, while the horse qualification gives you 20% faster train time, while the fanatics already train really fast. So it kind of doesn't give you anything, while the Sword of Deimos gives you 50% damage to hit Paspis. So it's just a straight up better version of the Coins of Consecration, because it's better, yeah, it's more available for you because you make it from 100 wood building, while you make this from a 600 resource building, 680 if you include the favor. So I would like to get that buffed for the Rhea enjoyers. What else could be improved? Personally, the destroyer needs to be like 2 population. It's underperforming for the population it takes. Maybe it could add because like every single siege unit, a melee siege, other than the destroyers, don't have any counter of them. Destroyers get countered by counter infantry units, while every single siege, like the siege tower, the siege tower from the Egyptians, like the battering ram from the Norse, it doesn't have any counters to it. It's just straight up a unit that tanks everything that you throw at it. It doesn't die to arrows. It doesn't have any counters to it, so it can tank a lot more than destroyers can. And destroyers take a lot more population than the other stuff. So I hope that they either make destroyers murder other siege units to compensate, so that if you can't siege anything with destroyers, I'm not gonna let you siege anything with your siege units if I use destroyers to kill it. It's kind of just making something of the destroyer, so it has some more use than, compared to other siege units in the game. For the Chinese, what needs to be nerfed? Really hard to say. They're just really good overall, but they definitely need some nerfs. The most obvious ones being the Mythic Age heroes, like giving Nesha population having him be a population unit, and reducing the AoE damage from the Chinese heroes, or making it a lot smaller than it is at the moment. What else can be touched? I think that's about it. Okay, of course, for Norse, like Tempest definitely needs to be nerfed. One nerf that I would like to see is have it. It's at the moment each hit deals 5 divine damage, 5 pierce damage, and it decreases movement speed and attack speed of a unit by 20%. And if a unit gets hit 5 times, it gets river frozen, stunned for 20 seconds. I think that what needs to happen is that slow and that slow needs to be changed, like it needs to be nerfed. So it doesn't only need 5 hits, but that it needs like from 20% it goes to 10%, or at least 15% if they think that 10% is too much. But I think 10% would be the best. So it needs to hit the unit 10 times to stun it, that you keep the damage as it is. Maybe even you increase the damage, like back to 10 divine damage, but you make it so that I can run away, and something like that. But it would be interesting to see what they do at the end, but it's really obvious that Tempest needs adjusting, at least. So uh, that's the tier list at the moment. We definitely need some slight changes to address stuff so that everything's a bit more balanced. And I think that the Japanese coming out is definitely going to shake everything up. So we'll see how everything goes. And see you guys next time.